Hey, I'm Ryan HK. Recently I was able to photograph Todd Hido when he was here for an exposure festival event through the camera store. I photographed Todd with my Canon 8x10 camera and had reached out to the camera store to see if Todd would be interested in sitting for a portrait for me. I've looked up to Todd for a number of years and own a few of his books, and just love the work that he puts out. And the camera store was actually able to chat with Todd and ask him, and he agreed to sit down for about 10 minutes and allow me to create some photographs for him. What you're about to see is the process of the shooting, developing, even maybe some darkroom printing, and my conversation with Dave about the event and the overall process.
Now, how did you come across, you got a couple shots, how did you come across the mentality of what you wanted to capture from him, never having met him before?
Yeah, and you know, I wasn't sure if he was going to be super receptive to it. He said yes, but you know, I've shot people that have said yes and then weren't really down with spending the time. But I knew that I can shoot pretty quick. I had a 8x10 photo project or portrait project not too long ago. I had 3 minutes with each subject. So they each got one sheet, which is insane to me because I always like to get 2 sheets of everything, minimum.
Yeah.
So I knew if I had them for 10 minutes, I could get 2 close, like tight portraits with slightly different body style, but the same lensing, same distance, same lighting. And then I wanted a wide of him in the theater. So what we did was my assistant Caitlin Kerr and I went in, marked out distance, pre-framed. We knew if he was going to be dead on with the 10 minutes, we knew what we could get in that 10 minutes. So we went with a slightly more basic setup. I shot from a little bit further away so that I had a higher chance of getting his eyes in focus.
Because I mean, if you've never shot 4x5 or 8x10, there's no autofocus on here, right? It is quite the process to get a properly exposed image, but also properly focused image as well. So walk us through briefly kind of what it's like to focus.
So what we did in this case to make sure we were pretty quick with Todd was we set up the tripod, we set up the camera, we roughed in the lighting, and then I had Kerr stand toes in on a mark on the floor. We repositioned the camera, repositioned the lighting, and then I got a very rough focus in of her. So if Todd was a couple inches one way or the other, it was going to be a quick adjustment because it's so finite, and focusing is literally these guys and these guys at the back, which are currently locked, but you use a loop in the back, and so it's a process. You have to go under a dark cloth to get everything done. So depending on my time with a subject, I'll often pre-focus as close as I can get. And sometimes that means in the studio, I'll actually set up a C-stand with grip head. Yeah. And I'll pre-focus on that, mark the floor, and then know that roughly they're gonna be there. So I don't have to go from base to focus.
Okay, so now, and what was Todd like when you first met him? How nervous were you when he was coming down into the auditorium there?
I think we talked about this on the day, and I told Julian, I was like, I photographed like I don't know, a good amount of like fairly influential people. Yeah. And I was more nervous photographing Todd than I was the Dalai Lama, because the Dalai Lama is not going to judge me on my photography. And having someone that you admire photographically to be like, yeah, absolutely, you can take my portrait, like, okay, don't judge me. So I was very nervous. But you know, him and Todd and his wife Marina came in. We had a quick chat. He actually was super interested in the camera. I think both him and his wife had only really messed around with 4x5 when he was younger, and he was like, it's not for me, I don't like the process. And I was like, yeah, I get it.
Because I mean, that's a big part of this kind of camera is the material handling. I mean, it's not just a simple put a roll of 36 in the back and just wind them off, right? There is a whole process to loading the film in the dark, right, into these big dark slides, bringing them around, right? And you're not bringing a lot with you.
Yeah, I have a Harrison Jumbo changing tent so that I can put 6 holders in at a time and load 12 sheets. It is larger than my my kitchen table, so the ends hang off a little bit. But when I travel with this, I'm able to bring it because it rolls up into a little bag. Right. And then I have a full laptop bag that 6 holders and nothing else fit into. So yeah, it's not like just grabbing a X100 and wandering around.
Cool. So tell us about the printing process. And how nervous were you when you started developing the negative?
Okay, so if I don't really care, I have a Patterson system that holds 2 sheets together, and I'll just dev them and rip and go. With Todd's, I only got 4 sheets with Todd, so I developed each one individually. And so once I knew the negs came out, the first neg was like, great, at least we've got one should anything catastrophic happen. But got lucky, all 4 negs came out. And interestingly enough, in the wide, I focused. So it's easiest to focus with the lens wide open because it's the brightest.
Yeah.
And we got to talking while he was posing. And I turned around and was like, great, throw the film holder in, fired the shot, looked back at the lens and realized I hadn't stopped back down for our exposure. So I was 2 stops over. So what I did in developing was I actually pulled the development from a standard 400 time to a 200 time.
Right.
And I used semi-exhausted developer from another sheet to make sure that I would get a flat, properly exposed neg to print from.
I mean, this is the thing. If you're playing around with black and white, there's all kinds of tips and tricks and techniques.
Science, baby. Science.
Right? Everybody has their own sort of soup and their
Yeah.
own recipe of how to get things, and if you've messed up, how to recover some stuff and still make it all work. And
Yeah.
knowing your film stock, you've been doing this for so long, right? That the
Yeah.
characteristics of the film really well.
I've been shooting HP5 since 1991.
Yeah.
I know this film stock, everything comes out, you could be way over, way under, you can still get something out of the neg. I have used exclusively HC110 in the B dilution? HC110 for probably the last, I would say 4 years. So it's very predictable for me. I know exactly what I'm getting into. And when I had these, I have a good starting point for the neg for digitizing, which I use my GFX and a macro planar, like a Hasselblad lens to do that digitization. And then in the darkroom, they're contact prints. So I literally just pull out a sheet of 8x10 paper, I put it down, I pull out an 8x10 negative, I match the corners, I squish it, and I fire. So what I will usually do is I'll take a print and run the times on it, and you always try to get, I'm still pretty new to darkroom, by the way, too, but I try to make as many slices as I can across their face to get a good exposure. And for this, the times range from 2 seconds to 12 seconds, and then I kind of picked in the middle of what I wanted.
Yeah.
And then from there, I built the actual print through dodging and burning on top of the.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When you go into an actual darkroom, I mean, a lot of people don't realize you go into Photoshop and a lot of the tools are based on Photoshop thing, right? You're doing dodging and
versus darkroom.
yeah, you're using dodging and burning and wands and stuff, right? You actually manipulate it with your hand, right? To actually make things a little bit lighter or a little bit darker. So it's a real hands-on experience to actually print.
Yeah, and you can see from the full 8x10 contact print.
Yeah.
I would never frame something like that if I was in the studio. I would come in much tighter, but an 8x10, the resolution's so good. I knew that I'd have enough window to do what I really wanted, which was a matted 5x7 from the 8x10. So I literally laid the neg down on paper, and then I have photo mats at home for frames. I laid that down, pressed it in the glass, and I made just a single exposure with a little bit of dodging in on the black here. This one is garbage because I laid the neg down upside down because I wasn't paying attention. So you can see there, he's facing himself on this one. So I redid that one. And I also, from this initial print, this is no contrast filter at all. In the final that I sent to Todd and Marina, it's 2.5.
Right.
I like contrasty, I like really contrasty black and white, which is funny because I shoot HP5, which is not contrasty, but I like to build the contrast. So I want a good starting negative,
cool.
Especially when they're $12 a sheet.
Okay, so you got 4 negatives shot of Todd. Do you have a favorite, and how thrilled were you when you finally got them out?
Yeah, so for the tights, it's this 3/4 versus the straight on.
Yeah.
And once I got this dialed into the 5.7, I was stoked. But actually, the one that I like the most is very surprising because it's the one I screwed up on. So this was accidentally shot 2 stops over.
Yeah.
And then brought back down in developing.
So that's the wide shot, him sitting in an empty theater.
Yeah.
I like this shot a lot.
Yeah.
Because, you know, for me, it poses questions, right? You know, here's a great shot of a headshot, but here it poses questions. What's he doing there? What's the event? What's going on? What's he
he's
thinking?
by himself.
Right?
I like the tones in the seats too. So HP5 is really nice for like mid-range, and then pulling the film in developing actually like flattened out a lot of this contrast as well. So it's just a really nice looking neg, or print from the neg, but you can see I scratched the neg loading it in, and that with contact prints shows up because every imperfection in your negative shows up in the contact print because it's a direct result of the neg laying on top of the paper.
Now, since then, you have sent these prints down to, or shown them to, Todd and his wife, Marina.
Yeah.
Right? What is their reaction to it?
I think they're stoked. He's using the tight 3/4 for some promotional work and some gallery stuff.
That's a pretty good sign, right? That's a pretty good sign that he
I mean, for
wants
a
it.
photographer to use your stuff, you're like, yeah, okay, so you're not lying. You don't hate it. The prints, I don't know, they're in Oakland, so they'll arrive in, I don't know, a week.
or so.
Depends on the old post stuff.
So after all this experience of doing this and you know, finishing this, would you have done something differently besides expose properly? Would you have, would you
I mean, I don't know. I really like it. Maybe I just start pulling HP5 for printing. Yeah, for sure. I think had I known his character more and knew that he was open and really interested, I would have for sure done one safety, and then I would have got him super tight for another.
Yeah.
When your subject distance is pretty close to this lens in particular, I really like the aesthetic, but it's very shallow. I mean, more shallow than you could ever think to shoot anything else that you own. And that lens is a 5.6. So I definitely would have done one much, much tighter.
Interesting. Very cool. Awesome. So what's next for you? What's going to happen? Who'd be your dream guest to do the same kind of project with?
Oh man, I don't know. I love shooting people. I would just do this completely. Like if I stopped shooting commercial stuff, I would probably just be like, is there still a large format photo business that will allow me not to lose my home? I'm actually photographing George Weber next. So George is my Darkroom instructor and a Canadian
He's like a legend.
photojournalist.
He's a legend, man.
George saw I was getting George's help actually printing these, and I joked with him. I was like, "Oh, you should sit next," and he was like, "Absolutely, I would." And I was like, "Oh shit, is this all I have to do is ask people? Because I don't really."
Funny how that works.
Yeah, man, it's not my jam. I don't like cold.
Now, do you find
cold
when you talk, you know, people say, "Oh, can I take your photo?" and they're like, "Whatever," right? But then you say, "Hey, I'm using something that was, you know, the technology from the 1900s," right?
Yeah.
You know, do they find there's another level of excitement and curiosity that comes across on film for you?
Yeah, I have people that book. So I have portrait packages that are just this.
Yeah.
Like we do a digital Polaroid, if you will.
Yeah.
So we just fire the GFX a few times, make sure that the lighting contrast ratio is good, and I'm happy with the framing because my go-to lens on the GFX is a 55, and it's very similar field of view to this 300. So I get those dialed in, and then I have a digital safety should the world end and my film bag gets stolen on the way home or whatever. But yeah, I think that it's an experience for people. Like the 8x10 thing. I shot Ski Jor 2 years ago with Banded Peak on 8x10. So we just grabbed people out of the crowd that were dressed awesome.
Yeah.
And shot 8x10s on FP4. With them, and I think when people see this come out, like I've never been able to set this up in public without having to stop at least once, but usually it's more than that. And it's a very unique look, which people I think like, and it's a very unique experience being on the other side of that thing. And then usually what I'll do is let them look through the ground glass, so I'll swing into their chair, pre-focus.
Very cool.
And then they can see it.
I mean, the other thing is it's not instant gratification, right? There's not, you know, where digital cameras nowadays, we take a picture and you can instantly share it anywhere you want. Here, you know, best case scenario, a day away.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And so the most recent project prior to Todd was photographing 11 Blackfoot elders. And I had a very short time with them, but then I had 11 sheets to develop, all individual. So that was an entire weekend of developing and drawing and scanning, whereas I could have just popped a memory card into the camera and been done that same afternoon.
Done like that, so.
But this to me is special. And I mean, I use a camera every day. I use
Yeah.
a digital for all my work. This is still work, but it brings this level of I don't know, pleasure, zen.
No.
I don't know what you want to call it.
No, there, no, there
According to
definitely
some.
was a certain nervous anxiety and energy about you the night of that shoot there. I could sense it about you. I've known you for a long time, and I definitely picked up on that, right? Because it's like, here's somebody we all admire, and he's coming to Calgary, right, to give this presentation, and it was phenomenal. Yeah, we carry his books. They're all autographed right now as well. So we have Outskirts, House Hunting. If you haven't checked out Todd Hido's work, check it out. It's fantastic. It really changes your perception of what photography is. It's very much an artist, which is which is good. It's not just a photographer, but uses photography as an art medium. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah,
Been fantastic.
thanks.
That was a great project. We look forward to your next one. I can't wait to see George Weber's. And make sure you check out his website as well as Todd Hido's. Dave from the Camera Store. We'll catch you again soon.